All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy United Robots in Disguise 2001 Universe Sideburn. A pretty cool little figure here, not without faults, but still a pretty nice figure overall. Now, this is just a straight up and down repaint, except with a new head sculpt of the Shadow Striker figure we got from Legacy Evolution last year, which, it was pretty obvious that this is what it was going to be when that figure came out, because if you look at the design in robot mode, it is just like it's obviously very, very much designed to be Sideburn from Robots in Disguise. So it really was one of those cases where it's just like, oh, they made the mold to be Sideburn, and then they decided to also do it as Shadow Striker, but release that one first because it was like the less like mold appropriate like version of it. But there's definitely DNA of both of these designs in there. For example, like though the robot mode is very much meant to be Sideburn, the vehicle mode in terms of like the shaping of the front here is a lot more based on Shadow Striker from Cyberverse, because yeah, that's the one thing about this figure that I really wish was a little bit different. Was I wish that they had resculpted the front here to look a little bit more like Sideburn's original alt mode. Like I know it couldn't be a perfect match because he's one of the guys who runs into the issue of like having to do like licensed cars and stuff like that for his alt mode. So I get why they didn't do it, but I do wish that the front here was shaped a little bit differently, because like the weird sort of like 3-segment front here, though, was an appropriate design for Shadow Striker, because that's kind of what her vehicle mode looked like in the show. It really doesn't like look all that natural for just like, him being a regular car. Like you'd want it to at least kind of connect here a little bit better. So I wish that they had kind of like resculpted these bits to, like more cleanly meet up with the waist piece there, so it actually had like a smooth front to the vehicle mode. But other than that, I mean, that's my big main complaint about the figure. But other than that, he's pretty nice. He definitely, the blue flames on there are a little bit more subtle than they were on the original guy, and I do wish they popped a little bit more. But they've got the nice kind of like metallic paint on there, so they do look nice. I love the shade of yellow that they used for the windshield here. It has this really nice kind of like sparkle to it, which is really cool, kind of mixed in with the plastic. Now, he does kind of have the same issue as Shadow Striker, where the whole top section here and the back section have kind of a hard time staying tabbed properly in place. And it's honestly even a little bit worse on him, at least on, just comparing my two copies of the mold, because for whatever reason, the arms in robot mode like just don't want to sit in their tabs. So like these even pop up a little bit when you're trying to tab it in. Like it's kind of hard to see. It's subtle, but they do spring up a little bit, which just makes it that much more difficult to get this piece to actually like sit properly in place without having like a little gap on the side there. And same thing with the bumper. I mean, the bumper more or less functions the same way that Shadow Strikers did, where it just doesn't like want to stay tabbed onto both of these tabs at the same time, unfortunately. But honestly, unless you're like looking really closely at it, I think like from a distance, it still looks pretty good. He comes with the same weapon that Shadow Striker did, which, is a little bit, it's got like kind of an evil look to it. So I feel like the shaping of this is a little bit more appropriate to Shadow Striker, but you can, of course, do the thing where you attach the bumper on there to make it look a lot more like, Sideburn's original gun here. But yeah, in terms of storage, like I said, it's still the stupid kind of just like peg it onto the top of the car kind of storage, which is weird because like actually, for them, if you unfold this bit, there is plenty of space right here. And if you want to store the gun in here, you can just slot it in and it really does not cause any problems. So, I mean, that definitely works for storage. It's just the kind of thing where it's just like, no one thought to just like make that official and add a little clip or tab to put that in. No, you were just content to begin with for just pegging on top of the car. It's one of those things where it's like, it bugs me in principle more than practice, because like it fits in there just fine. So that works totally well for storage for me. And it's a tight enough space that it doesn't even really rattle around all that much, or, like contribute to popping any of this stuff up more than it, already does. So it's fine. It's just one of those things where it's just like, why am I the one coming up with that solution? It feels kind of obvious when you look at, the inside of the car there. But yeah, other than that, good car mode. I do wish the headlights were picked in Like especially, would have been nice if it was picked in with a kind of like gold or metallic yellow to like match here, because I'm pretty sure that's what the original one's headlights looked like. But but yeah, other than that, fun little car mode. In terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, so you can see what he looks like with him. Kind of a smallish car compared to Sideswipe, but still works. And here he is, of course, with Shadow Striker, so you can see exact same mold, just, different color scheme here. And like I said, just the shape of the car definitely feels like it's much more designed to be Shadow Striker, whereas like the shape of the robot mode feels like it's much more designed to be Sideburn. So, like they're not supposed to be necessarily one-to-one new updates of the figures. It's done in the generation style, so there's a little deviances, but I do wish they had at least reshaped the front of the car a little bit, but whatever. Here he is with, I don't have an original Sideburn, but I do have the Spy Changer version of Sideburn from RID, so that's what they look like together. And then, believe it or not, I think in terms of like updated versions of like RID 2001 Autobots, this is maybe the first one that I have. I skipped Tow Line, so I don't have that. I'm also passing on the HasLab Omega Prime, so I'm not going to be able to get that when it comes out. Yeah, I don't know. I hope we get new versions of the other Autobot brothers at least to complete that trio. But for now, he's a fun figure. I don't have a huge amount of attachment to a RID 2001. So I like all of the Decepticon/Predacon designs, but in terms of the Autobots, like I'd be kind of content with just getting versions of the Autobot brothers and calling it a day. But just in terms of showing him off with another RID character, here he is with Scourge from the Velocitron line from a year or two ago. So that's what they look like together. But yeah, to get onto transformation, obviously it's the exact same as Shadow Striker. You can just start by taking the bumper and putting it off to the side here, and then taking the windshield and folding it up like that. You can unpeg it, but that's kind of where it just ends up in his like on his arm in robot mode anyway. So I usually just leave it there throughout the transformation. Then you want to take these side panels, and they will untab from the body and fold out like this. Then you can take the legs here. Well, actually, first thing you want to do is take the front bumper here, and it will kind of like unclip over the waist, which is a little bit easier to do on him than it was on Shadow Striker, especially going back into car mode. Hers, I always find it was like really difficult to get that all tabbed in, whereas it feels a little bit smoother on him. Then you can untab the legs from the bottom of the car here. They both untab from the side as well. So then you can just bring them down like this and then fold the feet down. Then you take this whole section with the front bumper here and just fold it in like this, and take this middle section and make sure to push that in all the way so you can fold this up onto his chest. Then you take these back sections with the wheels, fold them up like this till they clip into place, and then take this whole armature section and double hinge it back down so it pegs into the side there. And then you can kind of just manipulate this hinge however you want. I usually, do it to the back a little bit and fold these panels back down as little capes or whatever. But there we have Sideburn in his robot mode. And yeah, like I said, I feel like this is clearly what this mold was designed to be, with like the way the chest looks and the way he's got, the shield on his arm there. It's very reminiscent of the original Sideburn, and they did a great job with his new head sculpt. I think this looks great. It's got a lot of nice paint on it. He's got, like the inlaid yellow sections there, and the several different colors on this head. I just feel like the head was like the main part that they gave a lot of attention to on this figure, and I feel like it really pops. So yeah, great little head sculpt there. In terms of his other weapons, I mean, obviously you can make him do the like bumper gun. I think it still looks like a little bit silly. Like, yeah, it's like the shape is there if you squint of like the original one, but like it doesn't look good as like a gun in and of itself, because it's like, is this the barrel? That it looks dumb, right? I mean, unless you put a blast effect in it. With the original one, he had like the missile sticking out, so it sort of like made sense, but I don't know. I always thought this looks a little weird. It's just kind of like a, half-baked attempt at, making this look okay, but whatever. But yeah, you can still do that. You can still do the thing where he can hold it like a sword, and it still has the weird, inexplicable little tab there that you have to get past his fingers, but otherwise he holds it okay put a blast effect in there to give him like a laser sword or whatever. I think that looks pretty cool, at least on Shadow Striker. But yeah, in terms of storage, I usually just take this bit and plug it onto his other arm. So he's got this bit on one arm and that bit on the other arm, and then the gun can just plug in back here in that port between the wheels, and that works pretty well for me. Decent storage there. But yeah, he has the same kind of like weird proportional issues that Shadow Striker had, where like if you look at him from the front, like his headline is way ahead of like where his shoulder line is, and the way the shoulders are attached still is a little bit weird to work with. But honestly, a lot of the original RID designs were like so like weird and like funky anyway, that I don't think it really bothers me all that much on him, like as much as it did on Shadow Striker. And honestly, I got used to it on Shadow Striker too, but like it just kind of feels at home for him, because like the RID designs were always like a little bit weird and janky and awkward anyway, so it kind of works for him, I guess is what I'm saying. But yeah, no, I think that the robot mode looks pretty good overall. In terms of articulation, his head is on a ball joint here, so it can rotate around. It doesn't really get a ton of movement left and right. It can look up and down a little bit, but pretty much it's just the rotation there. The shoulders are the big weird part about this guy, because they're, similar to like Core Class Rat Trap from Kingdom, they're attached at the back here. So in terms of the outward movement, it's actually using that swivel joint there on this piece, and then the forward movement is using that hinge. So like if you move his arm forward, you can't move it out to the side. I mean, you just have to like manipulate the joints in a certain way that feels a little bit unnatural. Like in terms of the range, it pretty much can accomplish most of the same things. It's just that the movement of it feels a little bit weird when you're doing it. But honestly, you can still get most poses that you'd want to get. It's just kind of a weird joint setup. He also has a bicep swivel, maybe like a degree under 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. He has a wrist swivel, which is nice. A waist cut, hips can go forward and back if you move these out of the way and out to the side. He's got just a regular thigh swivel there. The knees weirdly kind of like clip into place. And then on him too, because these sections are painted, the paint has already started chipping off these tabs, which they're not visible most of the time, so it doesn't really bother me. But just the fact that they have a tab painted and clipping over a section might bother some people, so worth mentioning. But I don't really think it's the end of the world. But yeah, knees go about 90. The feet can tilt all the way out to the side. They can't tilt back, but they can tilt forward for transformation, which is pretty helpful for some poses. I always feel like the forward like foot joint there is something that a lot more figures could have. Like the backward facing tilt is like not as important, but the forward one really helps with a lot of poses where you can get them like hunched down like that, and have the instead of having it have to be like that with the foot flat. So that works pretty well. So yeah, decent articulation. Again, the arms are weird, but if you kind of figure out how to work with them, it's really not too bad. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Sideswipe. Just so you can see, pretty much average size Deluxe. They're a little bit shorter, but pretty much on par. Here he is again with Shadow Striker. So you can see all the differences or lack thereof there. Again, pretty much just the head sculpt. Yeah, nothing else new sculpted on this figure other than that. But, it works for both of them. But yes, clearly this robot mode is designed to be Sideburn over Shadow Striker. But, it works. Here he is again with the little, what were these called? Spy Changer Sideburn that has a completely different robot mode design. But there's them. And then here he is again with Scourge, just for posterity's sake. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to this figure. Again, he's solid, not without issue. I don't think he's really like making any top 10 lists of the year or anything like that, but it is nice to get a new updated version of this character. And I do generally like this mold, even if it's not one of the ones that like really wows me or anything. It's still a fun toy, and definitely I feel like the robot mode design in particular was really tailor-made to be this guy. So it's yeah, nice to see him. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Legacy United Robots in Disguise 2001 Universe Sideburn.